right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Caps on the Coast. We got my grandpa and Connor in today with some Champions League talk and some MLS stuff as always. So, yeah, subscribe to the channel, leave a like below, and let us know what you guys have been thinking of the episodes. And as always, we're pretty pumped to get into this one. This morning, the Champions League second legs finished off with Bayern Munich beating Madrid in a thrilling fashion. 6-4 on aggregate. And then we had Arsenal tying Sporting 0-0, but Arsenal progress on away goals, winning 1-0 on away goals. So yeah, some crazy games this morning. Yesterday we saw Barcelona beat Atletico Madrid 2-1, but Barcelona still failed to progress to the semifinals as they lost the first game. And then PSG beat Liverpool 2-0 in the second leg, so they ended up going through 4-0 aggregate. So pretty dominating from a PSG point of view. But yeah, let's start off with the Barcelona Atletico Madrid game that took place yesterday. Barcelona picked up another red card. Okay, I see what you're doing there, the Atletico Madrid jersey. Yeah, so that was a bit of an interesting matchup as we saw the Spanish derby. I'll go to you first, Connor. What did you make of Barcelona failing to make it to the semifinals?
Well, I'm sad that one of them had to go because I do like to watch both teams. I think, Atletico Madrid more because they're more the underdog. I'm a big fan of Diego Simeone. He's been with the club for so long as a player, as a manager. His son's on the team. There's a whole thing with that. It's Antoine Griezmann's last hurrah before he goes to Orlando City. So it's a really cool story. And they, as you guys know, they lost to Real Madrid in the last 10 years in the final. So they've never won a Champions League. So if they could do it, it would be absolutely crazy because they're always in Real Madrid's kind of shadow. But they had Simeone, I think, kind of outworked with the mind games with uh, Hansi Flick because Barcelona is, I guess, a better team, right? But I think they managed the game, both games, as best as they could. Atletico Madrid's defense is pretty leaky, but so is Barcelona's. And you have some weak points in Barcelona's backline and younger guys that are good, but they're just not world class. And that's why Atletico could pounce on those little chances they had in the first leg, and that Kubarsi red card, which was unfortunate, but kind of a rookie mistake. And Lamine Yamal can't really do it all himself. And of course, it's very difficult when you don't have Rafinha in your lineup too. So that's a huge thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point there. It was weird that Rafinha wasn't starting. I guess he's injured at the moment or he has a knock.
Yeah, from the Brazil
Yeah,
Brazil
Lamine
friendlies.
Yamal, right, that's right. We talked about that in our last episode. Lamine Yamal scored a goal, though, in the first 4 minutes of that game. And then Ferran Torres scored a beautiful top corner shot right after that. So it was looking good for Barcelona out of the gate. Like they were up. They had tied the game. It was 2-2 on aggregate. So they were probably in great spirits. But then Lookman, the new Nigerian signing for Atletico Madrid, he scores their goal in that game, which just put them ahead on aggregate. But from there, I feel Barcelona was unable to really threaten Atletico Madrid's defense very much. They had a few chances, probably should have done better, right? They had some good chances in the second half, but ultimately Atletico Madrid held it down, and they're able to progress, which is a bit of an upset. But I think, yeah, like you said, those red cards are very unfortunate for Barcelona, and that's back-to-back games that we've seen that now. So I think some questions are going to be asked of Hansi Flick if he's making the right decisions with the defensive lineup, because Barcelona do play a very high line, which can sometimes leave them exposed at the back, especially on counterattacks. So it puts the defenders in an awkward situation where sometimes they have to make challenges that they otherwise wouldn't make with their backs running back to their own goal. So yeah, it's rough for them. And Grandpa, I was just wondering what were your thoughts on the other game that took place? PSG ended up beating Liverpool.
Well,
So what did you
yeah,
make of
well,
that?
yeah. I mean, it's obvious that PSG is a better team overall. 2-0, 2-0. I believe Liverpool did have a few chances, but they were able to capitalize on their shooting, on their goals, not on their shots, I should say. What I noticed, I made a few notes here, was that the PSG goalie, what's his name again? Do you know?
It's normally Donnarumma, but
Yeah,
in that game, it was the backup keeper that was playing.
yeah, he was outstanding. I watched the highlights, and he made some excellent saves to keep them in the game, to keep the score down,
Yeah, he did.
0. I thought he played a really good game in that second game. So, PSG is certainly deserving to go on, and the Liverpool fans will be upset. They'll be disappointed that they weren't able to score a goal, at least one goal in 2 games. But yeah, the better team won for sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the story of the season at this point for Liverpool, where in matches they have really good spells of play where they dominate the ball, they create chances, but ultimately they just haven't been clinical enough with the chances they've created, and it's really come to hurt them. I don't think their new signings have played up to the money that was spent to bring them in. You think of an Alexander Isak, who actually started this match. He had a decent game, but he was largely ineffective in large parts of the matches. And then we actually saw Hugo Ekitike go down in the first half with an injury. So that's why we saw Mohamed Salah come in the first half. Yeah, Connor, what have you made of Mohamed Salah's season up to this point? Because we're not seeing the same version of him that we saw last year, are we?
But yeah, I mean, that's been the story all season. He talked from, I think, spoke from at the start of the year, near the start of the year, about, does he think that the team is as good as it was? And he said no, and they have some work to do. I think they got lucky that they made it to this far of the quarterfinals because they've been so inconsistent. They're a great team to watch when they're doing well. When they're not doing well, it's sad to see. But specifically with Salah, people are rooting for him to do well, and he's just not the same Salah. So he's going to have those moments sometimes, and then he's not. And this is his last hurrah with Liverpool, and who knows where he's going to go now. But I would probably say Saudi Arabia or maybe MLS, but I'd think more Saudi Arabia. But
Yeah, he's had a rough season. Like, especially last year, he actually combined goals and assists the most goal contributions in a Premier League season history for one player. So it shows you how much he's kind of dropped off this year. It could be down to Arne Slot, the Liverpool head coach. They've had some big disagreements throughout the season. Mohamed Salah has been framed as a bit of a villain in the media over in England, so I think that probably plays into it. But yeah, he's missing some of his teammates from last year too, I'm sure. It's not the same team. There's been lots of changes. So they'll be disappointed to go out at this stage just because of how much they spent on transfers this offseason. But ultimately, it feels like the best team won 100% with PSG. And Dembele scored a brace in the second game. So we're seeing why he won the Ballon d'Or last year, because of his talent. He's showing again how clinical he is in those moments.
He missed a couple of chances in the first half,
Yeah.
but he made up for it with two nice goals in the second half. The name of the goalie who kept Liverpool in there, or kept PSG defense alive, was Lucas Chevalier, I believe. Does that sound familiar? Lucas Chevalier? Yeah. Yeah, he played excellent. He made some really good saves for PSG.
Yeah, PSG got a good team. I'm really interested to see what happens in the next matchup with Bayern. So speaking of Bayern, let's shift our focus to the games that took place today. We just finished watching the Bayern Munich-Liverpool second leg. What a match. One of the most exciting games I've seen in a long time, I think. 6-4 on aggregate, like I said.
Bayern Real Madrid. You said Bayern Liverpool, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Real Madrid, yeah. So yeah, second leg today. Bayern won 4-3. But yeah, it was an absolute insane game. There was, 6 goals in the first half? 5 goals in the first half, yeah. So yeah, it was crazy. Connor, what did you make of the second half in particular? Because I think that's when we saw a real shift in the table.
Oh yeah, after that chaotic first half, which is super fun to watch, especially if you're not a super fan of either team, or if you're just watching it as a soccer fan.
Hmm.
I think I had expected it. I think most people expected it's not going to be as chaotic as the first half, because that's when the coaches go, okay, with the players and with their own strategy, we can't we can't let a bunch of goals go in. It's not going to be, it can't be like FC 26. Like, so, right. So that's where you kind of saw a slower pace, more methodical. Now there was a few chances that were missed, like Mbappe had a good one, Luis Diaz near the start of the second half. But other than that, it was more slower and methodical, but still very exciting and lots of drama. And then the controversial Kamavinga red card. I mean,
Hmm.
he had a yellow card, and then the ref actually forgot that he already gave him a yellow card, and the Bayern players had to remind him that, like, you already gave him a card. He gets a red now.
Red.
And then he grabbed his red, and Kamavinga's like, oh no. But yeah, I don't know. They didn't show a replay right away, so I couldn't really see how bad of a tackle it was.
Hmm.
So, and that's why a lot of Real Madrid players were complaining at the end of the game, and Guler got a red card for just yapping at the ref after the game. But
Real
I don't
Madrid player.
blame them, because it's a kind of a controversial call, but at the same time, you're walking a fine line when you already have a yellow.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to see the Real Madrid players' reactions after the game. Like, they were clearly infuriated with the ref. You saw like 5 or 6 Madrid players storm the referee. They're screaming in his face. They all get yellow cards. Arda Güler, like you said, gets the red card. So yeah, it was a crazy ending to a crazy 2 legs. Yeah, Grandpa, what did you make of that game as a whole? Do you think Bayern
Yeah,
deserved to progress?
yeah, yeah. Well, I like Connor. Yeah, I saw the goals in the first half, but I missed pretty well the first half, and then watched second half. And I agree with what Connor says and what you say. It was a different kind of half, settled down a bit. Regarding the red card, the fact that he picked, I didn't think it was a bad foul, but the fact is he walked away, he picked the ball up and started to stroll with it. So there was a foul and a delay of game together at the same time. And, that might have convinced him, yeah, I'm giving another yellow for this, consequently a red. But no, I like the Bayern Munich. They've got a good team, and they've got some wonderful players who can shoot the ball. And was it Diaz who got a goal at the end?
Hmm.
Beautiful
Yeah,
shot
right after the red.
right after the red. Yeah, and he scored a goal, I believe, in the first game. Did he not? Two of the two games. And no, they're I think they're deserving winners overall. And we've got a game coming up where it could be a final right now with Bayern Munich playing PSG.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll have to talk a bit about what we expect in that 2 legs, because that's going to be worthy of a final, like you said.
Hmm.
And I just want to make a quick point quickly that I think the Real Madrid players really lacked self-control in that game, because
Hmm.
quite a few of them were on yellow cards. Anthony Rudiger is another one who was on a yellow, and he was making some really brash, risky challenges. Honestly, I think he's lucky not to have picked up a red as well. So the Madrid players are going to be a bit disappointed that they weren't able to control their emotions, because I do think this game was winnable for them. It wasn't going to be an easy match by any means, because of players like Michael Olise and Harry Kane and Luis Diaz. Those are always going to be game changers. But Real Madrid have game changers of their own. We saw Mbappe today play his socks off. We saw Vinny Jr. had an all right game. He got the assist on Mbappe's goal, and they wanted the remontada. Before the game, Mbappe and Vinny Jr. recreated a picture from, I believe, 2016 of Ronaldo and Benzema standing up in front of a glass picture of the Champions League. And this was right before Madrid beat Bayern. So Vinny and Mbappe kind of put the pressure on themselves and on the team by recreating this picture and saying, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come back and we're going to beat Bayern in the second leg. And you could tell they were fired up to win this game. Like, they were really going for it. They weren't holding back. But ultimately, I think it just came down to their discipline that really hurt them at the end of the day because they made some silly decisions. So yeah, they'll be upset, and I'm sure their new head coach is gonna be nervous about his job being on the line because we just saw Xabi Alonso get fired, so he's gonna be nervous that he might be the next one. It seems I don't know if you guys feel the same, but a lot of fallback with clubs all around the world these days falls onto the manager rather than the players. Like I think we're seeing coaches being sacked a lot quicker, and they're not really given the time to develop the team and work with the different players. So, yeah, I don't know. Connor, do you feel the same way that coaches are being treated a bit unfairly in today's game?
Yeah, I think yes and no. I think it depends on the club, but there's certain clubs like Real Madrid, it's been expected like that for a long time. And they've kind of set a standard. So other clubs that try to do that, like it sometimes makes sense if like Tottenham, like they're in a horrible situation, so they needed a change. And you can't just get rid of players mid-season. So what can you do? You can get rid of the manager, right? So now I think sometimes for sure it can be like too quick. There's also more social media pressure from the fans. So then they so then they might make a decision. The club might make a decision based on all the what the fans are saying. But yeah, I think yeah, I mean that's all I really have on that note, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. That yeah, it does really depend on the club and expectations because certain clubs have much higher expectations than others, and they have less of a tolerance for poor performances, I
The
think.
one thing, sorry to interject. The one thing I don't like when Xabi Alonso got sacked, it kind of looked like it kind of gave a win for the players that were not giving respect to the manager. So some people thought maybe Xabi Alonso wasn't given the respect he should have been, right? If you're a professional athlete, um, you know, give some respect to authority at some point, right? And when you see the thing with Mbappe telling everybody to leave the field when Barcelona beat them in the Supercopa, and not listening to Xabi Alonso and Vinny taking that tantrum, I thought because Xabi Alonso was sacked, then okay, it's okay for the players to keep continuing not to listen to their authority, right? So within Real Madrid and other players in other clubs, they look at that, go, oh, okay, I can be a little prima donna and get my way. So that's the downfall I don't like. And the last thing I'd say is another reason why I have respect for the Atletico Madrid is because they've kept Diego Simeone for so long because he brought them to a level that they hadn't been in a long time, like the two Champions League finals with Real Madrid, as I mentioned, and they stick with him. And even if they have a not the greatest season, they stick with him because they have respect for him and what he's done to the club. And I think that's what's kind of missing. As you were saying, there's not enough time for people to build a plan, like a 2-year plan, 3-year plan, to show the club what they can do because they might get sacked really soon.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of managers who have been with clubs for a long time, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal beat Sporting in the second leg today. Or sorry, they tied the second leg 0-0, and Arsenal advance on their goal in the first game. But it really looks like Mikel Arteta's job could be at worry as well. Just because of the Premier League, there's kind of questions whether or not they're gonna win the league with Manchester City having a game in hand and the two teams playing each other this weekend. So if Man City win
That's
the
going to be
game this weekend,
crazy.
right? It's like the season's on the line, and Arsenal cannot afford to bottle the lead. They will like this is one of the biggest disappointments in club history if Arsenal don't win the league this season, I think. And not to mention they've been kicked out of the Carabao Cup, losing, and the FA Cup. They just lost to Southampton, right? So Arsenal are making mistakes all over the place, and today they drew Sporting. They didn't even beat them. So yeah, Grandpa, what do you make of that result? And do you think Arsenal have what it takes to win the Premier League and the Champions League, or do you think that it's going to be a disaster?
Well, well, first of all, I was expecting Arsenal to win those two-game series, but the way they won it is there's room for improvement, so to speak. I was looking a little bit of history of Arsenal playing Portuguese teams, and they've only lost one game in 12. Their 12 last meetings against Portuguese teams, they've only lost once. So, they have a good record against Portuguese teams, but, scoring one goal in 2 games is a problem. It's not maybe their defense, they can't rely on their defense totally, right? Like they did in this 2 game series. So I'd say there's some issues there with. I'm not familiar with the players as you both are, but I would say there's an issue with scoring goals based on what has happened, and I'd say they're probably in trouble. That's my sort of quick estimation.
Yeah, well, I think your sentiment is being echoed by fans as well because they're definitely starting to worry about their squad. And I think my perspective on it is that Arsenal are so afraid of losing the title in the Premier League this season that Arteta has put so many restrictions on his players because he wants them to play in such a strict system to make the games kind of predictable. And I think his system is kind of taking away from the creativity of the players in a way that they don't have as much freedom to express themselves on the pitch and find the game and take on players. It's more like methodical and planned out. And I think Arteta's just really worried about Arsenal not living up to their expectations. So yeah, Connor, do you feel the same way? Do you think the players are lacking creativity because they do have a lot of creative players, but it seems like most of their goals are coming from set pieces?
Yeah, I think it's just I think it's the pressure. I think coming down to the wire, big games, like almost every game is a big game, right? So I think I think it just has to be the pressure right now is the main thing, and other teams kind of figuring them out.
Yeah, they're definitely feeling the pressure right now, I would think. But yeah, let's keep following Arsenal, of course. We'll see how they do. And yeah, we're gonna give you guys a rundown of the next round after the games take place in 2 weeks' time. So it'll be Arsenal, Atletico Madrid as the one semifinal, and then Bayern Munich and PSG on the other side of the bracket. Which side of the bracket do you guys think the winner's coming from? Grandpa, I'll start with you.
Well, the PSG, Real Madrid, sorry,
Bayern Munich, you mean?
PSG, Bayern Munich will, that's where it's going to come from. I'm pretty positive on that. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I agree. I still would like to see Atletico Madrid win because of the story, but yeah, I think but it's only in the final. It's just one game. Anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this next round goes down. Bayern Munich and PSG, it's going to be close. Two of the best teams in world football at the moment, so really looking forward to that matchup. Alphonso Davies came back today. I guess we can touch on that real quick. He played the entire second half for Bayern Munich, so from a Canadian perspective, that's certainly encouraging to see. He didn't suffer any more injuries, which is a good sign, right? And I thought he looked pretty dangerous. I don't know what you guys made of his performance, but he did well to get behind the line and really threaten the Real Madrid defense with some good passes in behind. And he made some good runs, some good crosses as well. So yeah, Connor, do you think Jesse Marsch can learn a bit from how Bayern Munich are using Davies? Because I feel like when Canada has Alphonso Davies, they kind of play him a bit more in a defensive role than Munich.
I think when Davies plays for Canada, he's more. I mean, I think he's always offensive minded, but I think for Canada, he tries to get away with it more so, and that's where they can be the downfall. So I don't see any problem with Jesse Marsch just keeping it in check. Because as soon as Davies puts on that Canadian sweater, I think he gets a bit overly excited, just like we saw when he missed the penalty in the last World Cup. He wants to take it on himself. He wants to do it all himself. But now we've got the players that we don't need him to do everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I agree. He gets a bit carried away in times in a Canadian shirt. Do you feel the same way, Grandpa, about his play?
Yes, I do. I think that's a good point. He feels pressure. When he puts on the Canadian jersey, he feels he's got the weight of the whole team on him. He's
The whole country.
It's not surprising. He listened to the journalists, the sports journalists and the media talking about we need him. He's got to he's our, he scored the only goal for Canada in two World Cups, uh,
22.
2022 last year or last 4 years ago, and when we went to the World Cup in, was it 2018? We scored anyway. We played 6 games. We scored 1 goal, and he scored the goal, a beautiful goal. But yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him, and I've got to tell you, looking back, I'm not trying to jinx him or anything, but I watched Canada play Costa Rica back in, I don't know, it was, a lead up to the World Cup. We had to qualify 4 years ago up in Edmonton, and we won 1-0. Now, he grew up in Edmonton, right? Talk about pressure. I think he played the worst game I've ever seen him play. He made so many mistakes,
Oh yeah.
it seemed, in that game. But that's the problem. That's the reality, isn't it, of a star player like that playing in a country like Canada.
Yeah, he has a lot of pressure for sure with the Canadian
Yeah.
Federation. You said 2018, but I think it was what 1986 that we were at the World Cup. Was
Oh
it?
yeah, yes. Sorry, 1986. Yeah, 1986 and 2022.
Yeah, so yeah, pretty far
Yeah,
gaps in between our tournaments.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That was Canada's only goal at that tournament. I
Yeah.
can see why Canadian fans are a bit skeptical about our success this summer, just due to the lack of results and goals at this
Mm,
tournament. But I mean, we've never had a squad this good, this well-rounded. We've never been coached as well as Jesse Marsh has implemented tactics, and I don't think the advantage of playing at home at this tournament can be understated as well. So Canada have a lot of good things in their favor this summer, but they're definitely gonna have to put it all together. So yeah, let's shift gears here a bit. Let's talk about some MLS stuff. Vancouver Whitecaps, of course, our club that we hold dear to our hearts. They beat New York City FC 2-0 on the weekend. Brian White, late goal in that game, and was it Eddie Ocampo who got the first goal, I believe?
yeah,
Um,
Ocampo.
yeah. So that was a good match, I think, from a Whitecaps perspective. I thought we played well. We dominated large parts of the match, but even when New York looked dangerous, we did very well at shutting down their chances, and I thought we hardly gave them any good, opportunities to score. They had a few chances on goal, but they were kind of just from our mistakes in the first half. I remember we were making some short passes and
Hmm.
we were looking a bit shaky in the midfield and in the defense, but as the game went on, we kind of got it together. So, yeah,
Hmm.
Grandpa, how would you analyze that game?
Well, yeah, you've mentioned a few things. We were a little slow to start. We were a bit nervous and making some poor passes, trying to too slow on the pass back to our goalie Takioka. We ran into problems a couple of times there, but fortunately no goals. Um, they were doing a high press, pressing our defense, their forwards, and it seemed to be working for a while. But we came on strong, and we would have had more goals if it hadn't been for Freeze as a U.S. goalie. He made some outstanding saves. It could have been 2-3-0 at halftime. White had, I don't know how many shots on goal.
I think he had 14 shots all
Yeah,
night,
well, we had
8 on
23
target.
we had 23 shots altogether. I think on goal there were, yeah, 10 to 12 shots on goal versus their 11 shots and only 2 on goal.
That's more shots on goal than the Canucks.
Yeah,
Good point.
that's a good point. It was an outstanding performance, and uh, it was a good game. White finally got a goal, beautiful. It was Bruno Caicedo who came on, and just a nice little chip cross, and
He's looking better
White
and
hit it
better,
with
Bruno
a
Caicedo.
diving header. I'm very impressed with Caicedo. He's speedy, he's fast, he's got a lot of self confidence, and he runs into the box quite often. But he's got lots of skills. He can cross the ball too. And he did that for White with a lovely diving header. So it was a good win. We've got it's a kind of game we need to play, especially against a team that's good, a good opposition, because we've got a number of games coming up against some pretty good teams. Maybe we'll talk about that after.
Sure, I think the Whitecaps are very impressive, and it's a performance that's worthy of the result because they are now first in the league,
That's right.
top of the Supporter Shield, tied with points with San Jose, but better goal differential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, San Jose have been extremely impressive this season as well. But yeah, Connor, is there anything you wanted to add in terms of how you saw that game play out?
Yeah, I think they're kind of seeing. I can see that they're kind of straying away from relying on Easy. I know he had a great start to the season, but now he's kind of fallen off. So now because they've got Caicedo and trying to and put some other wingers there to balance it out, but I think Easy can kind of turn his game around again. You could see Berhalter just really giving her. Muller, I think, is having a little bit of issues. And you got that penalty, the second last game, but
Mm-hmm.
His age might be getting to him.
a little bit, but you know what?
Mm-hmm.
He's still great to have, and we're so lucky to have him. And White talked to he had an interview with the MLS panel on Apple TV before the game.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I think is it Phillips?
Bradley Wright Phillips, yeah, it's his old teammate from New York Red Bulls.
Yeah, he said, "Oh, I picked you for what was it? The goal scoring."
Yeah, I think each week the MLS broadcast group pick one person who they think are gonna score.
Yeah, so he picked Brian White, and he told Brian White that, so he said he better score, and he said, "Okay, I'll do it." And then the Irish guy on the panel said, "Oh, and can you do a heel click as well?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll do it." So finally, after like so many shots, he finally scores and then does the heel click at the end.
I know, I thought it was hilarious because it's like normally he never has that many chances in a game. Like he was clearly trying so hard to score. Like he had so many shots. He remember that one where he just took a beautiful touch around the defender and like blasted it bottom corner and somehow Freeze got down and got a hand to it. Like it's moments like that where I think he was just like putting his hand in his head. He's like, how are these not going in the back of the net, right? Like he was just so confused. But then it gets to the end of the game. I think it was injury time and he scores a header. So that must have been a huge relief for him because all match he was just fighting to get a goal. It just wasn't going his way, right?
Yeah, it's crazy how things like that can just spark. Like if that didn't happen, he probably wouldn't have had as many shots. I think he always has that belief, but with those significant moments, it just puts, if you can get those, it just puts you in a state where you just believe and you can vision it. And then thankfully he got the one at the end because then that self-confidence would have been really harsh if he didn't.
Yeah, that shocked me too. That just that extra bit of added motivation from Bradley Wright Phillips made a huge difference in his performance. Like to your point, I don't think we would have saw the same level of effort and shots and play as we would have if that didn't happen before the game.
And that also kind of it reminds me of what you were saying about Vinny and Mbappe trying to remake that Ronaldo and Benzema thing. So that extra little thing kind of changes their mindset. And
Hmm.
Real Madrid have been, they're second in La Liga, but they've had so many ups and downs. The new coach, and they've lost to Girona. No, sorry, they tied Girona last week. They lost to Mallorca the week before. So they're a really inconsistent team, but if they get in the right state, then they can keep up with Bayern, and they almost beat them.
Yeah, for sure. Let's look forward just a little bit to the Whitecaps. They got a game next week against Sporting Kansas City. This game is going to be at home. I do think Sporting Kansas City are one of the weaker teams in the MLS at the moment. But Dejan Joveljic, their striker, he's been looking good for them as always, scoring goals. He had a great season with the Galaxy last year, so he's a very promising player. Other than that, I don't know a ton about their team, but yeah, Grandpa, what do you make of that matchup? And do you think the
Well,
Whitecaps have a good chance here to pick up another 3 points?
well, they certainly, it's probably their best chance for the next a few weeks because Sporting Kansas City is -10 on goal difference, and they're right at the bottom of the Western Conference. After that, they play one more game at home against Colorado. Colorado is one of the surprise teams this year. They're +7 in their goal difference, so they've really improved from. And then after that, they're on the road starting on May 2nd. They're playing LA Galaxy, San Jose May 9th. FC Dallas 13th, 16th, 23rd. Those are against Houston, San Diego. All these teams are plus teams, except for the Galaxy, a goal difference. They're all plus. They're all having pretty good years. Galaxy -1. So, and then we have the big break from May the 23rd through to July 16th for the World Cup. So there'll be a big break there for MLS teams, and then July 16th they'll be back. They'll be here at, no, they're not back here. They play two more games, July 16th and 25th, against Chicago Fire and Minnesota. They won't be back here till August 1st.
They're going to be
So
gone
what
for
I'm
a
saying,
very long time, so we better try to get to a game, either the Colorado or Sporting.
well, this is it. After the Colorado game, the rest of their schedule, they're on the road until August 1st. So, and on August 1st, they're playing LAFC, which will be a
Wow, that's
huge
going to be
challenge.
huge.
So
Yeah.
they've got a tough schedule playing all these games on the road for sure.
Yeah, it's a weird season because of the World Cup. It changes the way that the matches are scheduled. So
That's right.
that's why Vancouver have had all these home games to start the season. I think 8 out of their 9 first games of the season were at home or are going to be at home. So
That's right.
that's why it's so important that they capitalize early on in the season, and it puts a bit of added pressure knowing that you're going to have so many away games later on. But I don't think the players will be thinking about it too much because I really believe that they are just focusing on one game at a time.
Yeah.
Like Sebastian Berhalter would say that constantly last season. He was always like, I'm not thinking about 2-3 months down the road. I'm thinking about the next game on the weekend. Like I think as players it's important that they don't look into the future too much. Like imagine being a player and thinking that you have the World Cup coming up and that you need to earn a spot in that roster. That's such an added pressure into each game that you're putting onto yourself. So I do believe that they tone that out as much as possible. But yeah, Connor, what do you make of their schedule and their game against Sporting KC on the weekend?
Yeah, I think they should just run them over. Hopefully, like 7-0, like they did with Philadelphia last year. Maybe 8-0,
That'd be
9-0. That'd be nice. Or no, I think they'll at least win by a few goals. Because I was thinking maybe they'll get overconfident, but even if you get overconfident, I think they'll still win. It's not going to be like the San Jose a game where they just didn't look like themselves. But San Jose have been really good with not letting really any goals in. And it's at home. Yeah, I am confident they'll win both of them. Maybe Colorado. Did we lose to Colorado last year? Was that one of the weird
Yeah,
ones? Yeah,
yeah.
when we were winning every game and then we lost to them like on a
It
Saturday,
was like 1-0
beautiful
or something.
Saturday, and we lost them like 2-0 or something. So that might be a bit more difficult. Now, the away stretch, it could be beneficial, and it also could be where we go through a bad stretch like we did last year. But when you're away, you got everybody focused. They're not handling the kids and handling other home priorities, so they can just focus on football. And also that we're not traveling to Mexico and stuff like that halfway through the
That's right.
weekday, so we've got more rest.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
I think for the most part, I think it'll do us well, but maybe we might hit a stretch where maybe they lose a couple or something.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be important for Vancouver to pick up a few wins before the World Cup break, for sure. And when they come back, we'll have Leagues Cup as well. So that's going to be another edition of games that are just going to be kind of thrown into the mix with the MLS ones.
Oh yeah, that starts in August though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll
But
be back home.
yeah, it shows like how congested the schedule actually is because even though there's a World Cup break, like I think quite a few Whitecaps players will probably be with their international squads. They've been doing well. Like it's too bad for Priso. I really feel for him because he was just starting to cement himself with Canada.
Definitely.
But the timing of that injury is really unfortunate. And
How long
it's kind of the
how long is the I didn't see how long is the
8 to
estimated
10
time?
weeks or 8.
Okay, July. Where are we now? April, May, June. Okay, he'll be back for the World Cup.
Well, he needs to get fit, and he won't have played any games with his club.
He's
So
young, and we might need him if we get more injuries or if the other guys take longer. What is he, 21, 22?
Yeah, he's pretty
He
young
can
in
he
his
can he can do
early
it,
Yeah,
no problem.
20s.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll see. But yeah, let's talk a bit about the CONCACAF Champions Cup now. We saw the first leg of games take place last week. Nashville and Club America tied 0-0. LAFC in shocking fashion beat Cruz Azul 3-0. Tigres beat Seattle 2-0. Victorious over the Galaxy 4-2. So lots of interesting results there. And then yesterday we saw the second legs for a couple teams. So Cruz Azul get eliminated against LAFC. They tied that game 1-1. So LAFC go away victorious 4-1 on aggregate. And then Nashville beat Club America, and Nashville become the first MLS team to ever win at the Stadio Azteca. So yeah, let's talk a bit about those results from last night. Are you guys, Connor, I'll start with you. Are you shocked that Cruz Azul lost 4-1 to LAFC as the
I'm
reigning
not
champion?
I'm not complete shock because I think sometimes when even if a great team like Cruz Azul, I've watched them play twice in Monterrey and beat Monterrey Rayados twice, both times. So they're a really good team, and they beat us, of course, 5-0 in the final last year. So they're a really good team, and they're strong this year. Now, because LAFC have been doing really well, it's one thing playing an MLS team, a good MLS team, and the style's different. The Mexican style maybe is more physical, but I think the LAFC is like a different breed of the league because of the talent they have and the mindset they have as well, because they have the talent and it rubs off everybody else. So I'm not surprised, and maybe also you got to keep in mind when you're tired, when you have a team that's fatigued, one team might be more fatigued than the other, or certain stars might be more fatigued than the other, and that's where they the lead can just get run away.
Yeah. LAFC are definitely one of like the best teams in CONCACAF at the moment, and they're just showing how talented they are because the Whitecaps lost to Cruz Azul 5-0 in the final. So to be able to put on a dominant display over two legs like they just did just speaks to kind of the depth of their squad this season as well because they're balancing MLS games with CONCACAF. Yeah, we know as Vancouver fans what we had to deal with injuries and balancing players all season long last year, and it's a hard thing to do. So shout out to Mark DeSantos from the old Whitecaps coach because he's doing a pretty good job with LAFC.
Do
Yeah,
we have a
what did you make of
sorry, do
them?
we have a timeline on Eustachio as well for LAFC and
I
Canada?
think Eustachio is supposed to be back in the next couple weeks because it was about a month that he was supposed to be out.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, Grandpa, what do you think about LAFC at the moment? Were you impressed?
Well, they're an outstanding team, like you both have mentioned. For me, they're the strongest team. You know, Whitecaps are right behind them, I hope. But they've got so much talent, so many good goal scorers. They're so fast up front, and they've got Loris. Loris, he was the 2018 goalkeeper for France in the World Cup. 2018. He played an absolutely outstanding game last night. I mean, they were going after that. They were behind 3-0 to start with, and they got one back. I'm trying to think when it was. I think it was just before halftime, but it doesn't matter. Where they were shooting, made three or four, five maybe, excellent saves on Cruz's. He kept them in that game. I mean, eventually they got a penalty was called against Cruz's, and Bawanga scored from the penalty spot, but very extra time, I think it was. So, they've not only they've got a good defensive team too. They're very strong on defense. I've seen a few of their games this year, but it was Loris who definitely won the game for them last night.
Yeah, and tonight we have Seattle Sounders taking on Tigres at Lumen Field, and Seattle are down 2-0 on aggregate, so they're gonna have to do well. I see a Tigres jersey coming out here. Okay, Connor, I'll throw it to you first then. Do you think Seattle are going to be able to come back from a 2-0 deficit, or do you think Tigres are going to continue to show their dominance in CONCACAF?
No, it's karma for kicking out the Whitecaps. So Tigres is going to kick their butts and kick them out. Sorry, guys. You had a nice little run there, but that's what happens when you kick our team, Vancouver Whitecaps. My my second favorite team kicks you out in the next round.
Yeah, I'm still pretty salty. I hope Tigres eliminates Seattle as well. And then the other game tonight is LA Galaxy and Toluca, but the Galaxy are down 2 goals. And let's check where this game is. This game is in LA, so I think it's doable, but yeah. Who do you see coming out on top here, Grandpa?
Well, I think it's doable, but I don't think it will happen. I think Toluca too strong a team for the Galaxy. I'll be surprised if the Galaxy, I mean, they scored their 2 goals. They are away goals, so that's to their benefit. And now that they're playing at home, they've got those 2 away goals if it's tied or whatever, but tie game. But now I see Toluca being too strong for Galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toluca won the league last year in the final
Yeah.
against Tigres.
Yeah.
In the Liga MX.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a really good team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, Galaxy are pretty inconsistent. Like last season, they had a really poor season, which was shocking because the season before they won the MLS Cup, if you guys remember. But they had Ricky Puig back then, and he's still injured. I don't like how is Ricky Puig still out? He's been out for what, probably 14 months now or something, if not longer.
That's probably
I
why
think
he's not at Barcelona anymore, because maybe they saw that coming.
Yeah, well, I think too, he wanted to be the star, and like at Barcelona, he wasn't the star. So now coming to Galaxy, he gets to be the man. But yeah, Galaxy got a good side like Marco Reus. Joao Klaus has had a great start to the season for them, scoring a goal almost every game. So they'll be looking to him tonight to help them come back. Yeah, that was a good episode there. We talked about Champions League, Whitecaps, CONCACAF Champions Cup. Let me know what your guys' thoughts were in the comments. And as always, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this episode. We appreciate the support. Until next time, that'll do it.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.